So when you're humming away, running away. That's my celebration, a la Lion King, of, well, is it the rebirth of England's white ball cricket? I very much doubt it. But at least it's given us cause for some kind of celebration.
Two things there. One, I thought Simon was on the podcast with us, singing. Two, you just beat the Netherlands. Come on. It's not like you won the World Cup.
Well, no, you're quite right, Eugene. And wonderful it is to be with you, as always, this evening. Yes, I've been thinking about this long and hard since. What have I made of today? It's helped our net run rate. We've jumped a few places. Yes, we've jumped a few places in the table, which is great. And Ben Stokes was wonderful, as Ben Stokes is. Chris Woakes, brilliant.
Wow. Yeah.
With bat and ball. But there's cause for concern, isn't there? Still. Because if we put that batting performance in against Pakistan in a few days' time, I think we get murdered.
Yeah.
Stokes was dropped on 30 odd, was he?
Yeah, fine leg off a sitter from one of the guys at fine leg.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Root nutmegged himself, which is I've seen a lot of things in my life. I haven't seen somebody nutmeg themselves to get bowled middle stump. Do you know what's really interesting? It looks like everybody's trying to score a runner ball where the only person that wanted to play, well, I say only, three people that wanted to play cricket today. Malan, Stokes, and Woakes. They were the only ones that were interested in putting in the hard yards, and that's why they scored a few runs.
Yeah, I think he did right, mate. I thought David, fair enough, he was allowed to start well because of some of the ball. Logan Van Beek had a bit of a torrid start with the ball. Other than his first ball that was basically a toe-crunching in-swinging Yorker, but after that just bowled a load of four balls, a load of boundary balls to Milan. I think 87 off 74 he got before being run out. Yep. Whose fault was it? God knows. He just hit it and set off, didn't he? And wasn't far away from getting back in. But interesting one. Stokes, obviously, he is the man that can, isn't he? From an England perspective,
he's supposed to be retired.
Well, yeah, but we can't continue to expect Ben to pull us out of the mire when we're getting ourselves into some pretty horrid positions.
Yeah.
And likewise, you can't expect Chris Woakes, he's batted pretty well throughout the tournament. Started the tournament terribly with the ball, but gritty fighter, and he's a talented all-rounder.
Yeah.
But I do worry if we'd have put that batting performance in against Pakistan or one of the other top-tier nations, we'd have been in real trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The interesting thing for me is it doesn't look like people want to be there. And, it was, again, listening to the comms at the halfway point when, I forget it was Nasser or Michael Atherton saying they get both schools of thought. One, should Ben be here? Shouldn't he be going back and getting his operation? And the one half of the thought process is yes, because if he wasn't there today, imagine how much trouble he would have been in. The second half of the thought process is, well, he's going to bring in the test. He's going to be bringing the test side over relatively soon. So therefore, is he going to be fit for that now after the operation? So, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in his case. But yeah, I mean, his knock today was sublime.
Did you see the interview with Stokesy after the game?
I didn't know.
So Nasser was interviewing him. So obviously he won the Man of the Match award. And the last question he asked was directly about that and the injury and the operation. Basically the question was along the lines of, there are some people saying that you shouldn't be here, you should have gone and got your operation.
Yeah.
Was that ever a consideration? And he said, no, never. You never leave anyone hanging.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that is kind of Ben Stokes through and through, isn't it? I think come hell or high water, he will, as soon as they finish, he might well be on a plane straight after the Pakistan game on, is it Saturday?
And then Operation Sunday. It might be as quick as that for all we know.
No, it's Saturday, isn't it? We play. So he might be Saturday night, he's on the plane or Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Straight into the hospital, straight into the operation. And I think Simon said it's between 7 and 8 weeks recovery. Yeah. So which will, it's still cutting it fine, to be fair. I presume by recovery, what Simon means is, recovering nets, fully recovered in order to be able to play.
Yeah.
I would expect, not just, having stitches out or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's keyhole surgery anyway. So, whether there'll be many stitches. Like in my shoulder, I didn't have any stitches. It's just the incisions are that small, and these guys are so highly skilled now that the wounds just heal, and you can't really tell that they were even there in the first place. So
he's got the first test is at the end of January in 2020.
Oh, it's the end of January, is it?
Yeah, it's
okay.
the 25th. I just had a quick look now just to make sure. So yeah, first test is India versus England on the 25th of January. So he's got 2 months to recover, roughly 2.5 months.
Yeah. From a Netherlands point of view, there was nothing really of any great positivity today, was there?
Bas de Leerde overtook his dad, which was a milestone.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. It was interesting listening to, all them go through the different families, and admittedly Bas de Leerde's dad, who had played half the amount of games, taken the same amount of wickets, he went past him today. So well done to him. Okay. But other than that, nothing really to write home about. Their fielding was okay. I think the batting, Scott Edwards is again the linchpin trying to hang in there. Yeah. But England of old are looking good. I mean, again, looking at the bowling performance from England, that new ball when Wokes and Willie were bowling, it was doing all sorts. Joe Root could have taken that catch. He dropped the first over of the game, unfortunately.
It was tough with left and low, wasn't it? But I mean, I was thinking, should Butler have gone across him?
Yeah.
You would know, having fielded first slip, if it goes to your left, it's the keeper's catch, really, isn't it? I know it's a split-second decision, but
Shane Watson on commentary actually said that. He was like, "Well, Butler should have gone for that." And again, it does bring up the added conversation going back to Mott and Butler. Is Butler going to be around for the next one-day series? Do they need to find another keeper that's a better batsman?
Even if he is, or if he, regardless of whether he is or isn't, I just think this entire experience, he's a bit just like brain fried.
Yeah,
and so you can almost kind of forgive him that. He's got no runs again. He's chipped one to mid off, I think, today. Just looks like a bloke who wants to be at home with his young family, and who can blame him? I'd love to see him go out and get a score against Pakistan.
So would New Zealand.
Well, yeah, no, of course, yeah. But when we've played golf together, you can have the worst round or feel like you're having the worst round comparatively towards your handicap. And then you can just hit one, you absolutely nail one down the middle off the 18th tee box, and all of a sudden everything's all right again. So I'm kind of hoping that Joss might feel that and get a score in the game against Pakistan, maybe to get us over the line or whatever. And then it kind of gives him a bit of a renewed sense of faith about his own game and the state of English cricket, English white ball cricket. So, but we'll have to see. I mean, good to get through today. There were periods when, Johnny Bairstow, so many of them have had really poor tours, really poor tournament. But, there's one big game left in order to, solidify our position in the Champions Trophy, which is the only thing left to play for.
Yeah.
So, but it would be nice to see some of the lads who have struggled throughout the entire tournament get a score, and just to kind of renew their own faith in themselves. It doesn't really matter what we think or what fans think. It's all about these lads are proven, tried and tested cricketers and haven't become a bad side overnight, as we've said many times. But there'll be a fair bit of soul searching going on personally for a lot of these lads. So it'd be nice to see them get a score in the final game to kind of give them that renewed faith in their own ability.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to see England back to winning ways. Albeit they made it hard work, which was good viewing, by the way, because it looked like, I mean, I think the first thing I saw in the WhatsApp group was this morning was, oh, here we go again. England lost wickets in clusters, but then, managed to pull it back. But yeah, it does mean that they're now in 7th place. And looking at the games to come, you'd argue New Zealand, Sri Lanka, worst case scenario for Sri Lanka is they get 1 point, or best case scenario, whichever way you look, because it looks like the weather's inclement tomorrow. So hopefully that changes. You never believe the weatherman, as they say. Afghanistan and South Africa, that doesn't have any impact on England. Australia, Bangladesh, that has an impact, obviously, but you'd like to think Australia will turn them over.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, let's say Pakistan wins that game, England remain where they are. Try not to do too much damage to the net run rate, I think, is the big question. And then the last match is India, Netherlands, and you'd think that the Netherlands would win that. So it all depends.
I would lose that rather.
Yeah. It all depends if England don't win, what that margin of victory will look like, and it'll affect the net run rate.
Yeah. One thing that I forgot to mention when talking about England's batting innings is, they've got to 340, but they scored over 100 runs in the last 10.
Yep. Isn't that the way every team is doing it?
Well, and that's what we've been saying for the entire tournament, isn't it? Give yourselves a chance.
Yeah.
Keep wickets in the shed. Fair enough. It took Chris Woakes and Ben Stokes to kind of save us. What Stokes would have come in. Woakes would have come in at what, 7 or 8?
8, and I think he was in. I just stand to be corrected. I think he came in the 28th over. And I can confirm that in a second when we start looking.
No, 35th.
35th over, right? Okay.
So 36th over.
Yeah, I mean 15 overs to bat out, and the commentary team were talking about England getting bowled out again. I'm like, well, just
yeah.
There's still a job to be done here. They did have a good score at that stage. From memory, I think they were, what was it, around about, I don't know, 220 when he came in, somewhere around there, must have been.
It was 192.
192 when Ali went out. The shot Ali played, I was just like, he definitely doesn't want to be there. He's looking like somebody that's already 1 foot on the plane.
Checked out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 192 for 6 when Woakes came in.
Yeah.
321 for 7 when Woakes was out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, decent partnership. Yeah.
Talking
came
about
in, smashed a 6 and then went out next ball.
He did. Classic David. Really, yeah. I love that. But, the England's bowling performance, 3 wickets for Ali and Rashid, which was great because we haven't really seen them as spinners come into the tournament too much so far. Woakes 1 for 19 off 7, bowled a phenomenal spell, as did David Willey, who was 2 for 19 off 7. Atkinson, young, only his second game of the World Cup, but he was almost lauded as someone who bowls a little bit like Jofra, short, bustling run up, can get it down there at 90 miles an hour, but has really struggled.
He has,
hasn't he? He's not looked anything like, even half of what you'd expect Jofra, or half of what Jofra did in his first World Cup. I don't know what that is. He's obviously very young and he's got plenty of time, but it almost shows you, rather than how I think Jofra went so far against the grain by doing so well so early in his career that it almost reflects badly on Gus Atkinson.
Yeah, for 100%. I mean, he is young, he is learning. Is it the first time he's bowled in India? Probably. Has he bowled against the Netherlands? Did they have half decent plans? We don't know any of this information and the stats and working of the back office and how things work from that point of view. But when somebody comes in as the enforcer, he definitely wasn't that today. He bowled a couple of short balls and was put into the stands a few times, and the rest of them were not half volleys, but sort of, it looked like slower bounces because they kept getting wide. It just didn't look like the pitch where you wanted somebody that was out and out pace. It looked like you needed somebody that could swing it, or in this case spin it, in Moeen Ali and Rashid. So they were mentioning the up and young coming. Have I got that the right way around? The young and upcoming, rather.
Yeah.
I've forgotten his name now. The leg spinner.
Rahan Ahmed.
Yeah, so the young and upcoming Rahan Ahmed. But what do you think? Do you think he's going to be in sooner rather than later?
I would expect so. I think he's probably the horse that they're backing in terms of the next spinner, certainly in white ball purposes. But arguably, you've got Will Jacks as well, who will form part of that side. I think what we will start to see is that transition. That side that played against Ireland in those 3 one-days, you will start to see more and more of those guys start to come in. I think you'll probably see a fair few retirements off the back of it. This is what makes the central contract conversation even more interesting for me, and almost a little bit more crazy, unless they're basically picking a lot of them for, okay, we think you're going to play red ball cricket, so you can have your central contract. And they will start to then play around a little bit more with the white ball and try and get some of these younger lads in. I'm not entirely sure. But, that all remains to be seen. But, yeah, I think the next generation of the next iteration of this England white ball side will contain the likes of Jax, Duckett, Phil Salt, Rahan Ahmed, people like Josh Tong, Sam Hain,
Yep.
and so we'll see. That'll all show itself to be whatever it is as time progresses. So tomorrow, New Zealand, Sri Lanka. Come on, New Zealand.
Yeah. No rain.
I'd say the two most injury. Well, no, the two most injury hit sides in the tournament actually finally face off against each other tomorrow. Exactly. So, and then so Friday is
South Africa, Afghanistan.
South Africa, Afghanistan. We play on Saturday, and then India finish the tournament. 2
games on Saturday, by the way. There's an early game, which is Australia, Bangladesh, and then there is England, Bangladesh. Pakistan. Yeah. So that England-Pakistan game, Pakistan will know what they need to do to qualify for the semi-final.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow night in a bit more detail in terms of, once Sri Lanka and once we know the result between Sri Lanka and New Zealand, we can understand the permutations and in terms of what Pakistan will need to do against England or what England would need to, to do to help New Zealand, considering, I guess, they drew a World Cup,
Well, yeah. Yeah. But I think that, that Pakistan-England game could become a massive game. In regards to, depending on how these other results go. So it will most likely be myself and Robbo, having got a shoe-in from one of the lads from Twickenham today that you kindly messaged us about in the group about me saying it was my night off when Simon had to record on his own. It was actually my night off. But, but for some kind of forfeiture, I'm now doing every single one of the remaining games. It looks like...
You love it.
Well, I do love it. And I love spending time with you, Per. But it sounds like, from memory, from what we agreed last night, I think it'll be all three of us for the two semis and the final. So,
that's right.
Yeah, so it'll be me with either Tweedle Twit or Tweedle Twat between now and the end of the group stages, and then it'll be me with the twins for the two semis and the final. So, of course, I'm joking. I love you both dearly.
I'm just going to let the listeners come back and answer what those comments are.
Well, if I didn't say it first, then you'd have said it about me or Robbo, or if Robbo was here, he'd have said it about me and you. So.
Exactly.
But yes. So, England finally put in some semblance of a performance today, hardly convincing, but got the job done, up into 7th place. And now, I guess, Champions Trophy cricket is in their own hands.
Right. Yeah, holding on to it.
Talking of which, Eugene, before we forget, you sent something to us just before we started recording, did you not?
I did, yes.
Do you want to just talk us through that?
Well, just that there's an ICC tournament. Yeah, there's an ICC tournament every year up until 2031. I mean, how much more cricket are we going to have to talk about? This is phenomenal.
I'm gonna send it to the wife and say, look, all these daily podcasts I'm gonna have to do over the next 8 years. So obviously this year's 20 World Cup in India, 2020 World Cup in West Indies and the US next year.
Champions Trophy in Pakistan. T20, right? Is that T20 from memory?
Yeah. Champions Trophy in Pakistan 2025, 2026, another T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka. 2027 is the 50 over World Cup in Zimbabwe, South Africa and Namibia. 2028 is a T20 World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. Champions Trophy in India in 2029. T20 World Cup in England, Ireland and Scotland in 2030. And then the 50 over World Cup in India and Bangladesh.
Well, India's got a lot there.
Well, I mean, it's not as... you would be forgiven for thinking they're in charge of global cricket.
We're not going to go down tonight.
No, not tonight. No, I haven't slagged off anybody tonight, actually, surprisingly. So I best disappear before my Tourette's kicks in. So thank you very much for joining the two of us, as always. We look forward to your continued company between now and the end of the tournament. And until tomorrow, we bid you farewell.
Ta-ta.